Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Necessity versus Commodity. I've got an amazing gentleman here, and we often hear mindset talked about, but in society today, if everyone knows about mindset, but we see higher anxiety, higher stress than ever before, we're detached from society, detached from other people, run into a lot of problems. It could be in business, it could be in health, it could be in our relationships. Why do we see more of that than ever before? That's why I'm having Joseph Iario to hop on today. He's been a master coach helping people with anxiety, with stress, and really kind of a mindset. And so, Joseph, welcome to the show. I want to start off before we kind of get into some of the strategies you use, some of the tools that you help clients with. Kind of get into your backstory a little bit. How did you end up being a quote unquote mindset coach?
Well, it all started way back in Brooklyn, New York. I grew up a Catholic family, oldest of six. Did my due diligence, had a lot of chores, old school. We always played outside. We didn't have electronics, so it was a fun time. Stayed out till dark. Um, I think of myself as a positive person and a happy person, and some of the little things you do in school and everything that gets to you, I always would bounce back and always keep that good, happy, positive outlook. I went to Catholic school through high school, and I had a problem with religion because I didn't know at the time, but I did. I felt different, and it turns out I was gay. But there were no role models when I was growing up, and so I had to muddle through and prayed a lot, as the church would tell you to pray for stuff, and I didn't get answers I was looking for, so I just made it to 23 when I came out, 1976, and I absolutely accepted myself 100% that day I came out to my family, and I moved to New York City, and I had freedom. It was fun. Disco era. Went to Studio 54.
I was just going to ask you
Drug,
before.
drugs, alcohol, like a kid in a candy store. And, after a while, it takes a toll on you. And I didn't hit bottom, though, until I'd say my early 40s. I decided I was heading for death. I really was. Everything about me, my physical, I didn't want to look in the mirror at myself because I hated what I looked at. And so I made the decision to move to Minnesota. And the reason I did that is they had the first gay and lesbian treatment center in the United States, which I think it opened in 1988. Went there, did my 30-day stint, went to a halfway house. But unfortunately, along the way, I learned a lot of stuff, and it took me a long time to start pulling myself out of that mentality. I had to put my life back together. Um, After I stopped drinking, I got severely depressed, high anxiety. And why do you think that happened? Well, most addictions, people are trying to hide from something. They don't want to think about stuff. And so once the alcohol was put away and my brain started coming back to normal, the thoughts came back and the reasons I was drinking, and I had to deal with it. And AA, it helps you a lot to stop drinking, but it doesn't solve your mental and emotional problems. And therefore, I did a psychoanalysis treatment for 2 years. And that helped a lot. But I went to the alcohol center treatment in 1993, but I didn't stop drinking until 2005. So relapse is a big part of recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Off and on, you stay dry 2 years, you drink, you think you're cured. No, you're never cured. So what I did though is I went back to school. I never went to college. At 18, we were doing a lot of drugs, and I just felt like going to college would be a continuation. So I went to work. and learned a lot more in New York City than I did in the 4 years in high school, as far as how life goes and meeting a lot of different cultures and educating myself. Went to college, I took a behavioral science course, and that opened my eyes up to who I was, what I was about, and how I could fix myself. Because I took a lot of the different courses, and they all applied to me. And June 6th, 2005 was the last day I had a drink. And I feel like God or whatever is out there, the universe, lifted the curse off of me because I didn't go to another AA meeting. I didn't ever have a problem going to a bar, people drinking around me. I just do not have a desire for liquor anymore in my life. So that'll be 20 years in June.
Congratulations.
So I did make a promise to God that I would try to help other people who were struggling the same way I did and show them a better way. And so along the journey, I have worked with autistic kids, the elderly, people, alcoholics, what have you. Um, I'm just there to help people, and it feels good. It feels good because a lot of people need help. A lot of people just need somebody to shake them and tell them you are a good person. You're worth something. You have value. You have something to offer somebody else. And most people don't think that. They all have a lot of people, including myself, they talk bad to themselves. They have bad self-talk. And I learned, somebody told me that you should talk to yourself like your best friend. Why are you doing that to yourself? Because your subconscious and everything in there is going to pick up the negativity and it's going to feed it back to you. And it's a continuous cycle until you change it. It's a habit. Um,
Well,
I put out,
you unpacked a lot there, and that
yeah.
everybody's listening. I'm sure there's some people right now that are going, well, I never had a drinking problem, so this might not be for me. And I just want to let everybody know that's not the case. And I want you to continue listening if you're interested about overcoming stress, anxiety, even like when it comes down to substance abuse. And, Joseph, you and I have kind of connected on social media. This is actually our first time, communicating face to face. And, you know, social media is great for like the basic connections, but just hearing your story. So number one, I was brought up Catholic. I started drinking and doing drugs from 15 to 25 and ran much like you did. I'm a few decades behind you. I was born in 77. So when you were in Studio 70, in Studio 52 or 54, I wasn't quite born yet. Um, but also I'm in Minnesota.
I lived there for 17 years before I
So
moved to Manhattan.
that's where I'm at. And so, luckily for me, I did go through some rehab processes as well. I had some uncles that were alcoholics. Luckily for me, I don't think I actually had that alcoholic gene. I needed to make a lifestyle change. To I haven't had a drop of alcohol in like 5 years, but it's not that if I had one today, it's not like I go back. So I'm very fortunate that way. I just don't like even having a sip of one. Like I just don't like any of that stuff. But when I quit as well after going through everything, I was 25, I got into fitness. That's what occupied my time instead of being at bars. Um, that began saving my life and then also getting into personal development. And you made a comment about, our thought process. It's ironic you said what you said. I would often tell my clients the same thing. Of the things that you tell yourself, would you ever say that to anybody else, even your worst enemy? And I think there's a lot of people out there, they don't realize like what you just said of we get into these habits of just demonizing ourselves, and we'll often say it's something worse to us than we anybody could ever say to us. That's a hard thing to live 24 hours a day. Yeah.
Mhm.
And you also brought up something else, and so I want to talk about that, but then also the other piece. I'm a firm believer, and I know that you are as well, and you kind of alluded to this, but society, we have social media, and we're farther away from human connection we've ever been before. And so many people are overburdened, underappreciated, and rarely praised for who they are. That goes against everything the human psyche needs in my mind. And that's exactly what you're talking about. I love the passion you have for helping people. So in today's day and age, majority of people, whether you're a successful business owner, whether you're successful in your career and you're feeling high anxiety, you're burned out, stressed, you're seeing bad things showing up in your relationship, whatever it may be, we get in these patterns of thinking poorly. So when someone reaches out to you and you work with people very closely, very individually, one on one, which I think is absolutely amazing. Too many people are left to books and videos and their own devices, which rarely work. So when someone's working with you, what are some of the things that you first initial help somebody out with? Because lots of times we look in the mirror, but we can't see the problem. We need someone like you to come in, say, "Hey, Scott, what's going on?" Have get to know each other a little bit, and then start being like, "Hey," you start pointing out these patterns or whatever it may be. So what's that kind of like first starting to work with you? What do you do when you're helping somebody?
Well, initially you meet somebody and you do a lot of listening. And then you start repeating back to them some of the things they said because a lot of people, they're just in their thoughts all the time. And you could have, it's almost like therapy, but it's not therapy. It's just talking to somebody. If you live alone and you have things going on, everything's in your head. And I know for me, when I did therapy, I would have some decisions I needed to make. And when I saw the therapist and I said my story out loud, all of a sudden the answer came to me. So it's as simple as talking to somebody else. And we don't do a lot of talking, we do a lot of texting. That's another addiction.
Wow, agreed.
People are on the face scrolling through all of those sites. I know I've done it myself at times, caught myself and look at the clock, 2 hours just like that, and you can't get time back.
Yeah.
It's, you know, so it's called a comfort zone. That's a big word, where people get comfortable, but they're not going anywhere. They're not improving themselves. I I'm I'm taught to learn something new every day. That's how you stay young.
I I I couldn't agree more with you. Um, I actually, when both my parents retired, this was probably about 6 years ago, and I bought them a pillow to have in their living room, and it says, "When was the last time you did something for the first time?"
Very nice.
And it's one of those mindsets, like what you're talking about, of if you're not learning something today or doing something new today, there's only two directions in life, right?
Hmm.
The grave
Hmm.
or peace, right? Like it's one or the other. And I truly believe that lots of times too, and I've noticed this amongst myself personally, that when my life is stagnant, wow, my brain gets really evil quick
Okay.
compared to when I'm moving forward and progressing. I feel much better. And that could be me working out. That could be my diet. That could be me learning about business. That could be me learning about myself. That could be my relationship with my family. That could be with my fiance. That could be with her two girls. Like as long as things are moving forward, you're a lot more peace and your happiness. And it's one of the things watching you online, that I connected with. I could tell that you're at peace. And majority of people that you see are not. They're not comfortable with themselves and they're not at peace. So how did you really kind of, and I know it's not going to be a, hey, this one day I did this and all of a sudden magically I'm that. How did you kind of progress to a point of where you are now with being at peace with who you are, happy with who you are? Because I think that's a big part of why you love helping people too, because you've been through that journey yourself.
Well, it's a lot of positive stuff that like I said before, your thoughts, that's the first place you got to look to see how you're talking to yourself. Journaling a little, what's on your mind. If you don't have somebody to talk to, at least put it down on paper and then take a look at what's going on. And that's a good time to do that is in the morning. But getting back to all the stuff you just said, I could sum it up pretty simple. You have to have a reason to get up out of bed every day. There has to be a goal of something you're heading for, something that makes you want to live and you're alive. And an example of that would be, I haven't heard it recently, but I remember you'd hear about the man that just retired after 50 years at some company and he got his gold watch, and about a month or two later, he dies. It was over. He had no reason to get up anymore. That's how I look at that situation. There has to be a goal, something to head for. And if it's a hard goal, then I look at it, just do a little something that day to head toward the goal. Small wins are wins. You, you got we need to compliment ourselves when we achieve something that we're heading for. I'm a spiritual guy. I believe in what I used to call God, I now call the universe. And I believe in positive energy. And it flows in and out of us, in and out of you. It comes out of our thoughts and it goes out there. So if you're putting out positive, good thoughts, like attracts like, and you're going to bring those people into your life. If you want to complain all the time, you'll have a group of complainers all gathered together. And when I started figuring that out, and that I'm one with the universe, I'm one with everybody, and try to be the best person I can be, my life got a lot easier. Don't sweat the small stuff, all of those. I'd rather be happy than right. All of those things, arguing about silly little things that have no bearing in about 20 minutes after you're arguing about it. Just take life easy, live in the moment, be mindful of what you're doing and how you're doing it, and what you say to people matters. All of those things combine, and it's a daily process of learning, talking to other people, hearing their problems, and taking a look at yourself and say, I can improve on this, I can improve. There's always something you can do. But there's always a lot you can share. I don't believe in holding knowledge, oh, look what I got. And I'm not sharing it with you because we're all here to help each other. You teach me a lesson, I teach you a lesson. I don't believe in coincidences. Somebody comes into your life, there's a reason. There is a definite reason. Um, it's almost like if you believe in the prayer, okay, which I do, I pray every day. Um, I do a gratitude prayer because I have everything I need. I feel blessed and I like to share that with people. So prayer is answered. It's answered through meeting somebody, a friend, a book, a TV show, something you're pondering in your head and you're praying about will come out if you pay attention. You'll get the answer. You might not get it, in a week, a month. It might take long, but you'll get an answer. Just stay on it. Um, for me, I believe in the law of attraction, and I have mantras I do, and I've been doing three of them for the last 2 years. I go on the dating apps. I had a partner who passed away 2 years ago.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. And I decided my life's still going to go on. I'm a pretty young 71-year-old. I'm very active. I have the mind of a 30. Body doesn't tell me that every day, but it doesn't matter. I just muddle through.
I never would
But
have guessed you were 71.
72 next month. Yay.
Happy early birthday. I would have
Thank you.
I would have put you in the high 50s range.
Yeah, I get it a lot, but it's just a number. It's about what you're doing with your time on this planet.
Agreed.
So I tried doing dating apps, and this is a new discovery I found. I'd say 50% of those people on there are not real. They're either working for the company because you got to pay X amount of money per conversations. So say you have 10 conversations, you use up one of the sites uses the word gems. You use them up, you got to buy more. And a lot of these people that I was meeting were a lot models. I'm like, what are you looking for in a 71-year-old guy? Oh, you're wonderful, you're this, you're that. And they want to keep you on that site as long as they can. So you keep spending more and more money. Then you have the ones that steal somebody else's identity and put it up there as that's who they are. And you ask them to do a FaceTime with you, and they have every excuse under the sun why they can't do it. So I'm leading to social interaction.
Yeah,
I
I know where
mean,
you're
when I
going.
was younger, they used to have what they called blind dates. You meet somebody, you can tell in 5 minutes. I know I could if there's chemistry there. You look in somebody's eyes, you see if they're light, they're bright, they're happy. You feel if you have a connection, you start conversations. I do texting. I try to make connections with people online, and it really frustrates me because with texting, it's not like a conversation. It's more like you're putting some words down and you get a response, and you put more words down. And then whoever you're talking to has to leave. They don't even say goodbye, and the conversation's over. So you didn't get anywhere. Um, I notice it. They don't have it as much as they used to, but in grocery stores, when you had to go to the cashier, the young cashiers, there's no interaction with them. They're either on their phone or they have their headset on, and they're not even paying attention to you. And this is not a good thing. Um, we're
It's
also,
interesting. It's interesting you brought that up. It's kind of even before we were talking before this podcast and talking how social media has completely disconnected us
Mhm.
from other humans. And I think that's one of the hard things a lot of people struggle with. But actually, my fiance, her and I were out the other day too, and we said that exact same thing. Like we both feel really bad for the generation behind us. If you go to Target, you stop at a gas station, you go to the younger generation won't even look at you anymore. There's no interaction. Like it's very robotic and
Mhm.
also very like when you and I were kids growing up, if you had a child acting that way, you would be very concerned because they weren't out playing, they didn't make eye doc, they weren't talking, they weren't engaging. It was what's wrong with this child? Are you okay? And I see this not just in children, but I see this in adults all over the place. I COVID did some serious damage psychologically with a lot of people, and some people I don't think will ever get out of it. I think 20 years from now we're going to look back at it and be like, wow, the damage that was done was insane. Because you can walk through places now. People don't make eye contact with you; they avoid you, they move away from you, which is not what our human mind, our body, our soul wants. We're all looking for that connection,
Mhm.
and we want that connection. And so I'm not surprised at all the high anxiety, the burnout, the stress that we're seeing across society in a lot of different levels, which is good for individuals like you because, and myself, we love helping people, whether it be with their mindset, whether it be their business, whatever it may be. We love helping people, and there's more people out there to help than ever.
But the one thing about all that, most of these people don't realize they have a problem.
I was just going to ask. That's exactly what I was going to bring up. Is that is very concerning to me. Like I said, is like if you saw a child like that back in the day, you would have had a bunch of people like trying to figure out. So there's a lot of people that are probably that will watch this and they'll think to themselves, "I don't have a problem at all." How do you, I guess, shed light on somebody to help them want to move forward in a better position with their life? because the proverbial you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. I'm a firm believer in that. When I was training people for fitness, I couldn't convince someone to lose weight. I could just show them how to do it. If they wanted to go home and eat ice cream and sit on the couch all night instead of work out or eat healthy, that's all up to them. But right now in society, I don't think a lot of people even realize how bad of a shape they're in. So, how do we go about making that fundamental change to help people there at the very beginning, just to have them, I guess, have the door open so they can see that, wow, you have been actually in a prison cell, you didn't even realize it.
Well, you use the big word, change. Most people are afraid of change. They're comfortable, even though it might be painful to some, exhausting going through the day. That's a comfort zone they know. Um, I'll attribute that to when I was drinking. I knew I needed some help, but drinking every day was something I could live with because I knew how the day was going to go and I didn't have to make a change. And I made a dramatic change. I mean, I moved across the country, but it took me a long time. I was kicking and screaming before I had to go. And that's a big problem. People don't want to change. Um, a big key is limiting beliefs. People have these beliefs that they hold on to, and I can start asking them how they serve them now, today in their life. And they realize it doesn't serve me at all. So why are you living in under that law that you created for yourself? Here's a thing that I found out not too long ago, maybe about 2 years ago. But at the age of 7, we didn't ever talk about subconscious right now, but this is what I'm going to tell you. At the age of 7, you have everything, your values and beliefs are all implanted in your subconscious. Everything you're going to be in your teens, in your adulthood, early adult, and through your life, unless you want to make changes. So if you had parents that just talk down to you, or money issues that were a problem in the family, that's all in your subconscious. And when you go out into the real world, all those thoughts are going to come into your head and they're going to hold you back. That is the biggest part of mindset that a lot of people need to change because you want a promotion. You know, I'm not good enough. The thoughts are in your head and you're not going to perform as well because you don't feel as good about yourself. You're not positive. You're not sure. Um, everything in order to make it in this world, you really have to be on your toes. As far as whatever you think you want to do, you have to be the best at it. And the only way to get there is your mind. Your mind's going to tell you, I'm good enough, I'm great enough. If you can do it, my motto as when I was growing up was if you can do it, I can do it. Whenever I look for a job, I see somebody else doing it, there's no reason I can't do it. Motivator. And anybody can get them something motivate them, some mantras, something to change the way they think and see the world. Um, I just people, wake up, wake up. You can have a great life. There's no reason you have to live the way you live in. Take chances. If you believe in something, go for it. If you don't try it, you're going to regret it later on. You'll be in the bar drinking, talking about the good old days. And where does it leave you? Nowhere. Unfulfilled life.
Yeah. I
Go ahead, say something.
it's it's really interesting when you talk about, I don't think many people realize that if you think of like your brain as like as like your phone, you have a bunch of apps on it. All of those apps were put into place before
Hmm.
7 years old. And there's a lot of apps in there that don't
Yes,
exist
sir.
anymore at all. But just like a phone, you can delete an app and upload it, a new one. Or you can, hey, I need to hit this one and update it, get it refreshed. right? Our brains kind of work that same way. And a lot of people get stuck in that fixed mindset. But those little habits,
Mhm.
those thought patterns, we don't realize it's just a program playing in the back. So when you're working with someone, how do you help someone
That's right. But
either update an app or replace an app? How do you go about and help somebody do that? Obviously, number one, you need to have a growth mindset, thinking that actually you can make a change. If you don't think you can, it doesn't matter. You're right. Think of whether you think you can or you can't, you're right either way. So there's two things, and here's an example. Like I'm going to use
Mhm.
myself as example in two different things that I realized about myself over the years. So number one, again, talking about before age 7, self doubt and being a perfectionist. That if I saw a neighborhood kid jump on a skateboard and I went and jumped on a skateboard and fell off immediately, I immediately wouldn't try any further because I wasn't perfect at the first time.
Fixed mindset.
Yep. And so
Hmm.
now I'm a proactive perfectionist. So if something like that pops up, my brain immediately goes into, okay, you need to do something about this. You need to be proactive about this now. Same thing sometimes with self doubt. You brought up earlier, hey, I'm not good enough or this or that. So I'm very strategic now. So when I hear those thoughts pop up, my brain immediately goes into, okay, why did I think that? Is that right? Is that wrong? Why is that right? Or why could that potentially be wrong? Now, what can I do about it? My brain will go through that process really, really fast to get me to make a change on it. Going through that's not just as easy as me saying that. So, how do you help a client go through and do some of those changes internally and mentally, and also fish some of them out? Because some of them you don't even know you have until you really come face to face. It's kind of like looking underneath the bed, looking for a monster, and realize there's not one there.
Well, I could use myself as an example. When I came on the online coaching service, I had this one thing that went through my whole life. And it's a limiting belief, a belief that I had public speaking fear. And it started in sixth grade when they decided they were going to have one student a day come up to the pulpit and read the gospel of the day. And I couldn't do it. I got up there and I saw a sea of black. It scared the heck out of me being in front of all those people. And it followed me through most of my life. I be in AA, and I don't know if you know anything about it, but they have celebrations for a month, a year. And whenever they'd call me up, go ahead, Joe, say something. I was like, thank you very much. I'm very blessed. And I'd sit down. Um, so when I came on here and I saw people making videos and talking in public, and I had a coach and I asked the coach, and he said, yeah, you have to do this if you want to get your name out there and you want people to know who you are. They want to see the real person. So he gave me some practice stuff to do in our group for about a week. And I started feeling better. As soon as you start doing something you're afraid of, all of a sudden it becomes easier and it's not as fearful. The
Yep.
next week I had a podcast. Somebody asked me, you want to do a podcast? I did. I had an interview. And then I was getting compliments. Oh, you have a great voice. You should only do all you should do your own podcast and blah la 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 la. And I haven't done anything in front of an audience, but I guess if it came up, I would just try it because here's a line. The the thing that you want most is on the other side of fear. And that's usually what holds a lot of people back
Yep.
because there's something they really want, but they're afraid to dive in and go for it. And
Yeah.
that's the bottom line. And in answer to your question about helping people, it's one little thing at a time. It's about breathing. It's about journaling. There's so many different things, and it's a little thing at a time to help you change because habits are hard to break. You want to break a habit, you take one bad habit and you introduce a new habit right by it. So when you do the bad habit, okay, you're doing it still, but you remember to start trying the good habit. And little by little, you'll eliminate the bad habit and take on the new one. And step by step, baby steps. That's how it is.
Yeah.
And it's all about change. You want to change? If somebody comes to me and says, I want you to work with me, I say, okay, one question I need to know. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much are you willing to change? If they say 9, I say you're not ready. You have to be all in. You have to be all in because it's not easy work.
Yeah.
Changing, depending on your age, changing all this stuff around, it's not easy, but it's doable. And the other side of that is a great life, a wonderful life to share with other people.
Agreed.
So
You kind of you brought up the fear, and I'm a big believer in that too. That everything behind that fear is everything you want in your life. And um, I always use the two different analogies of fear: the false evidence appearing real,
in my head right now, as you said
and
it.
also face everything and rise.
Okay, I never heard that one. It's good.
Yep. And so, and if I'm glad the first one you were playing in your head at the same time, because when you feel that fear, like I kind of alluded to earlier too, of yeah, look underneath the bed sometimes, make sure there's not a monster there, right? Because once you face everything, now you can stand up and rise, and then you can look at all the false evidence it's appearing real, and now you can kind of shatter that. Um, and when I train people in fitness, like you said, of a scale of 1 to 10, when people tell you 9, when I was training people in fitness, I could have a client for it could be a week, it literally could be 2 years. I had clients that I trained for 18 years.
Wow.
And it's not because I was teaching them a new variation of a push-up or teaching them a new way of squatting or running or right. It was none of that. Some of it was accountability, some of it was our conversations during the workout, some of it was mental mindset shifts and things of that nature. But if a client was trying to lose weight and they would go like 6 months and they wouldn't lose any weight, they would come in and have a conversation with me, and I call it the light bulb moment, because I would be like, Joseph, I want to let you know you're probably gonna be down 6 pounds in the next 2 weeks. Why? Because the way you're talking, I can tell you finally made the decision to change. As crazy as that sounds, you've been here for 6 months or whatever, but I can tell there was actually a shift that went in your brain, and your actions now are going to reflect that. And I think that's a big part of um, the importance of making change, which you kind of said, like you have to get out and you have to do these things,
Mhm.
right? Helping someone, number one, someone need to tell you, yeah, I'm it's a 10, I'm ready for this. Number two is start looking at what your actions you're not doing, face that now, have the confidence in yourself, which most people don't have at the beginning, on their own, is to go take the next step and take the action for results. And I think that's why your clients get such good results with you, and why it's so important sometimes to have somebody there with you. An accountability partner is, I don't like that term, it's so fluffy, but you said it earlier about having a why.
Motivator. How about a motivator?
Correct. And a lot of people, motivation, you and I both know, motivation, if that's what you're trying to use to move you forward, well, motivation is an emotion that disappears really quickly.
Mhm.
I'm extremely motivated to lose 10 pounds until I go to a Mexican restaurant, they put chips and salsa and a margarita in front of me, right? Like you'll eat that whole bucket before you even think about it. And
Right.
so motivation's not there. And having someone in your corner like yourself, that that's standing side by side with you, marching forward, or standing back to back, knowing that we're going to get out of this alive,
Hmm.
is so huge for majority of people, depending on where they're at in their life. And why it's so impactful to have someone like you on your side, because of those key things. I can read a book all day and never take action. I can go watch this video 10 times and not change my life. But when you partner with someone like yourself and you're walking side by side through this process, the other thing is, I've always hired coaches throughout my life in certain areas I needed, either because I knew that they knew things I didn't and I wanted to learn from it. Two, they might know the same things as me, but they're going to see other things that maybe I'm not focused on at the time and focus somewhere else. So we can both see trouble coming from different angles. It's going to save us a lot of headache working together. Also, sometimes it's that camaraderie, that human aspect, that social aspect that we need. So when motivation is not there, I'm getting out of bed and I'm going for my 1 hour walk and doing my 10 minute of gratitude, not because I want to, but because I'm going to do it for Joseph today. I'm not going to let him down. And I think there's so many different layers there of having a coach, especially if you're struggling in some area of your life that you don't even know why you're struggling. Maybe you're just feeling like this isn't right, or I'm meant for more, or why am I not happy the way I was 20 years ago? Those are all signals that there's something not quite there. And in our society nowadays, I know that you see it in the online space too. It's all grind, all 24 hours a day and don't have a life. It is, nope, you have to carry this burden all by yourself. You're a man, nobody wants to hear your garbage. Um, Whatever it may be, there's so much noise out there that we're taking as truth that is so detrimental. And you made a comment about, hey, I'm scrolling through social media 2 hours. Where did that 2 hours go?
Well, the news, putting the news on is horrible.
What
I would recommend
100%.
it. Yeah,
And so is just scrolling, right? Like
I
all of
stopped the
it's so
news. I
bad.
stopped the news after the last election. I'm done. I don't even look at it. And
Yeah,
I feel so much more at peace and I don't get aggravated about certain things. Because I have no control over that anyway. So why
correct.
am I mean, years ago I used to yell at the TV as if they were going to hear me,
Yeah.
but wasted energy. It's
What
not going to change anything.
100%. And talking about like those subconscious loops that we have when you're just scrolling too, the algorithm's so good
Mhm.
nowadays, it's going to feed that negativity. Also, the dopamine hits, the chemical reactions we're getting. I have to put some major guardrails on my phone and social media. And I'm sure you do too, because we use social media for what we do partially.
Right.
So you need it. You can't totally escape it and get away from it. I have friends and family that I'm jealous of because they don't have any social media on their phone. They haven't been on, they deleted all their accounts. I've never been happier in their life. And I'm like, oh gosh, I would love to get there. But we technically can't. So I need guardrails to make sure that I step away from life. But I have to be very careful with that because I do have an addictive personality. We all do,
Mm.
to where we can get sucked in. And we don't realize how much that is affecting.
They were built that way.
Yeah, 100%.
Specifically. Yeah, there's a series on Netflix about the whole how they set it up.
Yeah, it really is crazy. And you even look at you research blue screens.
Hmm.
Those were invented by the CIA for mind control, right? Like there's all of these little factors that we don't even realize are controlling our lives internally in our brain, but then these other outside forces too are dictating that as well.
Hmm.
And we have to learn how to step away from it. And I think when we look at the old everything from the news to the social media to we're not around, I think some of the biggest anxiety and stressors and some of the things that are bringing some of the biggest heartache and struggle for people that I we kind of brought up at the very beginning that I love about you. Most people don't know themselves. The moment and when I quit drinking, I had to learn how to be able to sit in a room by myself and quiet. It's so uncomfortable if you don't know how to do it. And most people can't even be with themselves 24 hours a day. And that's a huge thing. I know it's something you help people with too. And when you're looking at being comfortable in your own skin yourself, how do you help someone do that? Because that's a can be a very difficult process too. And there's a lot of it I did on my own, but there was a lot of it I needed help from someone like you to actually like break through and do some of the stuff. So what are some of the things when you're helping someone to learn to be themselves and comfortable in themselves, where they are today? What is some of that stuff that you work with people on?
Some of it is just, like I said before, journaling, writing stuff down that's in your head and look at it. Look at your beliefs. Meditation. People are so afraid of meditation. It's pretty popular and more so now than it ever was. But I remember when I tried it, I would be thinking about what I got to do next week. I got to go to the store, or whatever it was.
That's what I'm saying. People can't be by themselves, right? You can't even shut
Right.
off your brain. Yeah,
There's a difference between loneliness and alone time, and I love alone time. But it took me many years to get there. I always had to be with somebody before social media. But meditation, if you close your eyes and you can only think of one thing at a time. So just think about your breath. Think about breathing in and breathing out and do it for 5 minutes. That's it. 5 minutes. Breathe in, breathe out. With your eyes closed, just think about that. Eventually, you can up it to 10, and before you know it, you'll be doing 30 minutes if you really want to. And that is the number one thing that you need to control before you start tackling all these other problems. You,
agreed.
you need to get your mind clean and clear as much as you can and get find some peace, and you will find peace doing it.
Agreed.
So that's the
And
number
one
one
thing
thing
that
I would recommend.
and Joseph, one thing, talking about the breathing, it's so huge, right? Like you concentrate on your breathing and actually start shutting everything, quiet everything down.
Hmm.
One thing I visualize sometimes, and I had to do this at the very beginning too. And so every breath in, I was thinking about a circle and then exhaling out. So basically, it was kind of making an infinity sign within my body, right?
Hmm.
And going through that visualization sometimes too, because my brain always likes to connect dots and move things and solve problems, and it's always all over the board. And it could be trying to solve a problem I was thinking about 3 days ago, and now because I'm actually sitting still, that problem pops in my head. And if I don't learn to shut that off, and so visualizing that with the breathing was something that helped me shut that off a little bit too. But just the breathing and just paying attention to deep inhale and kind of count, exhale, kind of count. I couldn't agree more. If you can't do that yourself, good luck. It's going to be really hard to change and reprogram some of the apps, so to speak, going on in your head. So I couldn't agree more with you.
Well, deep breathing by itself, without
Agreed.
even meditating, people breathe shallow. Everybody's breathing shallow. If you do some breathing exercises, that in itself will lower your stress levels.
Agreed. And talking about breathing scientifically too, just so if someone's listening to this, to think about breathing and watching. A baby will breathe all with its stomach.
Hmm.
A person that's on their deathbed is breathing with their throat.
Hmm.
Majority of Americans, because we're so stressed out, we're breathing with our esophagus. You're that close to death. You're that far away from a happy life, right? And there's so much science, like again, that like you said, the breathing like is so important for our physiology, our nervous system, uh,
Hmm.
our mind, our vagus nerve, all that type of
Remember
stuff.
the days when there were a lot of smokers and they'd get stressed out in the office and they go, "Oh God, I got to go out and have a cigarette." Well, what are they actually doing? They're breathing.
Breathing, yeah,
So if you put that cigarette down and just do the breathing, the stress level will go down. You don't need the nicotine.
yeah. It's kind of like the headache thing, right? It wasn't the aspirin you took; it was the water you drank.
Hmm. Oh,
Very much
yeah,
the same type of thing. And
yeah.
well, Joseph, I know we're both on a time crunch here and ending up. If everyone's watching, so in the description, there's going to be a link to Joseph's Facebook page, also his Facebook group you can join. It's a free group. So connect with them there if you have any questions. Um, or want to follow him, you can always shoot him a DM. He's amazing at getting back to you and answering questions and helping. As you can tell from who he is, he just likes to help people. But obviously, if you're looking for someone to help you through scenarios, he's there for hire as well. And so, Joseph, this last minute or two, is there anything you want to leave a listener with, a tip or a piece of advice, maybe motivation, whatever it may be on top of your heart?
Every problem has a solution. Um, so don't think like whatever your lifestyle is or whatever you're doing today is hopeless because it's not. Um, if you really, you should always reach out to somebody if you got things going on in your head, no matter who it is. It doesn't have to be a coach or just a friend, just to talk. Just sit down for 15 minutes if something's really bothering you. Because when you're up in your head, everything seems so much worse than it actually is. And when you say it out loud, it starts feeling a lot better. So that's soothing and it's healing and it's social. I can't stress this more. Interaction with another human being is a gift from God and we should use it. That's all I
Agreed.
can say.
1,000%. I love that. And I couldn't agree more. Every problem, there's a solution for it. And I hope people really understand the power of that nugget. I mean, that's a huge shift that you need to understand because the majority of people, like you said, they, hey, I'm willing to change. They're not a 10 because they doubt that they actually can, right? And that can be that shift between a 9 to a 10. And all of a sudden now your life is on a totally different trajectory because of that decision. So, Joseph, I want to say thank you for joining us. I would love to have you on again and further this conversation. And if anyone, as you're watching this, if there are thoughts or questions or comments that pop up, put them in the comment section because those are things that maybe Joseph, when he comes back, we do discuss those directly. Or if you have something pressing, reach out to him right off the bat. And he would be glad to connect and help you out. So again, Joseph, thank you very much for your time today, and
It's
an
good.
honor and a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much.